intro. You're listening to NYC Radio Live. David Ellenbogen here. I'm here with Dan Freedman, who is one of the top 10, I think #1 album on this WKCR Best of 2025 list I'm putting together. The album Saha Gnawa, and that's the group. And yeah, like I told you on the phone, I'm blown away by this album and project. Congrats, man. It's unbelievable.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on the list, and it seems like we're way up in the top of the list. So
yeah,
thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had to be honest. I don't really know if there's multiple lists or
well, whatever list we'll take it.
Yeah, but you can put it on your website. #1 KCR. Yeah. So, well, yeah, and in the last couple of days, I also kind of like dove into more of your discography, and it started coming together how this happened, because first I was like, I'd heard a lot of the Gnawa kind of experimental projects, Gnawa diffusion, and different Hassan Hakmoon stuff back in the day, and there's all kinds of great things, but really to me this project just nails it. And I was trying to figure out how it came together, and then when I heard some of your previous albums, it started kind of, I saw how the bricks were being laid for this particular one. So I mean, one interesting element is it sounds, you bring in Roman Diaz and Abraham Rodriguez at some point from the New York rumbero scene, the Afro-Cuban scene.
Yeah.
That's not music that someone could just get on the first try or understand. So you did some studying of Afro-Cuban music?
Yeah. For many years I've been studying and playing. I mean, it's such an incredibly deep tradition, of course. So it's a lifetime of study. And I actually, Abraham Rodriguez was one of my first teachers a long time ago. I think I was about 19 when I met him, and it was like the 90s, where there was just rumba in the East Village, fully gentrified East Village. So it was like I really was like one of those chasing the rumba and playing every day, all the time in the park, and then going to apartment or the river, or squats and just learning. And so I learned a lot from AB. And I went to Cuba several times to study, and study Bata drums as well, Bata drumming, and with AB learning the songs first of all. So his method of teaching is really folkloric. So you learning the songs and the whole, before you even touch drums, to be able to sing the songs and play. So yeah, I love that tradition, and still a part of that as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like I spent a little time just on the fringe. Whenever there's a rumba, I try to be there, and I studied a little with Melvis Santa, similar kind of method, of just being able to tap the clave and sing those melodies. And it seems like almost like a science, how the different ways that a melody can match a clave. It seems like they explored it from every,
For sure. And I think a lot of it too, for this, like related to Saha Gnawa, is like the feeling, because the Santeria, if you want to call it, or the religious music, there's a feeling there that is really similar to Gnawa music, and even the history and like the role of that music in its society. There's a lot of parallels. Gnawa music, Gnawa culture is, the music is really for healing, and it's part of ceremony. It's very like sacred music. So the point of alila, which is what in Gnawa music you play 1 or 2 or 3 nights in a row, is generally to heal people. So if someone is sick, or physically or mentally, a family will have the Gnawa musicians either come to their house or go to their place and then sit for many nights sometimes, and kind of almost like it feels like they're almost like reprogramming your equilibrium of like the rhythm, and people go into trance, and it's very similar in that way to, sacred music from Cuba or Brazil or other places that have, these generally deep African traditions. So I always felt like, that feeling, I love that feeling. And it just seems really like, it would fit. So having AB come and sing on this, for example, it just seemed to really work. And a lot of the rhythms are really similar. So like on the song that AB sang on, there's a kind of clave thing on the bass drum. So I did that after we recorded the record. After I kind of did some edits and left some room for him to put an Orisha song in there. And Roman and the Maâlem, who's the main Maâlem Hassan Ben Jaafar is the main guy of Saha Gnawa as far as singer and the guembri player and leader, co-leader, and he has known Roman Diaz for years, so they have a friendship. So having Roman come to the studio was great, and Maâlem even asked for me, yeah, bring. I said maybe we should bring Roman. He said, no, of course, bring Roman. So.
Yeah, I've been around when the Gnawa folks, I think even Roman was there, like Gnawa folks picking the Afro-Cuban brains in the other direction too, and like discovering that some of the colors have the same meanings. And yeah.
No, for sure. I don't want to speak to all of that. I might know, some of those things, but I'm also, I'm observing it, and I mean, from some degree from the outside.
So just from a pure musical perspective, like it always seemed to me that with the Afro-Cuban stuff, there were certain rhythms that just were so off the grid or something like that, like kind of an intranscribable kind of thing going on. Is that, I mean, as a more experienced kind of percussionist, or is that how you would think about it?
Yeah, I mean, with as far as Afro-Cuban music, there's a lot of things that would be really hard to transcribe, I guess, to write down. And it's also with the feeling of things, there's a lot of things that would sound complicated, but you could kind of write them out and then kind of decipher it that way. But yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, nowadays with the phone and the constant, information, I'm constantly seeing, Pedrito Martinez and all these amazing people. And I don't know what what was that phrase? Like, I don't know what is going on, so to be honest, I mean, there's an endless amount of like, that, but then I have other friends. My friend Paulo Stagnaro is a great conga player and teaches a lot, and he's able to transcribe things that are like, oh, that's what that is. But I think with the Gnawa music, there's just a few different rhythmic cells, and there's like a couple different things that repeat all the time, from the qraqebs, which is the castanets. I don't know how you write that main phrase, actually, to be honest. I mean, you could, but it's definitely a feeling that like has to be learned or absorbed somehow, and so I don't know how you would really write that out. In my case, like, I love Gnawa music since when I first heard it, and one of the times I first heard it was actually with Jason Lindner, who's in Saha Gnawa, and we saw Randy Weston in Brooklyn in the '90s. He brought Maâlem Gourd, I think it was, to Brooklyn, and we went to see that together. And I remember both of us were like, "Oh my God!" just like completely blown away by the spirit and what is going on here. And that kind of began for me like a real obsession with that music, and also playing other kinds of Moroccan music, which has a similar kind of grid, if you will, like the way it's not really triplets, it's like a little lope, there's like a lope to it, And so I played other kinds of Moroccan music, excuse me, as did Jason. We used to play a lot with Omer Avital, the bass player, who's Morocco has a Moroccan family, and then introduced us to a lot of other Moroccan musicians who were playing Algerian songs and shabi, which is like the folk songs. But Gnawa music was always there, and I was like, so how am I possibly going to play this rhythm? For me, it was just like, I think I would go to sleep. There's one record in particular I have that's very mellow. It doesn't have the metal castanet, the qraqebs. It's like they play very quiet. A lot of times they would play on like a cassette tape with like rice inside it, so it's like really quiet. I remember going to sleep with those records on for years, just like, or like that would be like kind of my go-to airplane travel music. Trying to get that thing to like seep in. You know, how's it going to get in there? And then I went to Morocco a few times and wound up meeting some really lucky, like on the block I was staying. I just heard guembri, the bass, and I was like, wait, they're right here. And then went downstairs, and like the best guys happened to be like right by the place I was staying. And I went in like, hi, they're like, you know, whatever with this guy. And then, but I can clap. I understand the thing, you know, so they were like, oh, sit down, you know, and then I just sat with them every day for like, that first time was like, I was there for a month. So just every night, all night playing with those guys. So kind of like starting clapping along, and then gradually like, graduating to the qraqeb a little bit. And then it gets really fast. So, okay, you know, if it gets really fast and you can't hang, you got to stop, because you don't want to like make it a mess. But that really helped kind of cement the feeling of it, so that when I met these, you know, Maâlem in New York, or Amino Belyamani, who's in the band, those guys were like, oh, hey, that, you know, you can play with us. Wow, okay. Like, how'd you learn that? You know, that was great. And yeah.
Wow. You know, it's interesting what you said about the that the healing ceremony is meant to be some kind of reset, and that that the rhythms have this kind of loping thing that's kind of hard to understand. And I've always kind of had this theory that something about the polyrhythms kind of like knock people out of their normal sense, because this like multi-dimensionality, like it's this, but it's also this, and you can't really understand it intellectually, so you start moving. And
Yeah.
that was like, you know, that's like the mechanism for this trance music or this healing music that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, I think within those cultures, everybody understands it, and they don't have quite that sense of like, wait, what's going on? Everybody's kind of like right in there with it. But right. I do think that there's something about, well, with Gnawa rhythms especially, like there's a sense of like there's no beginning or end to the actual. I mean, the pattern is looping. So you know, it's funny. I just listened to that wonderful podcast by Jad about Fela.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
The Fela podcast, and he's talking about a little bit about Fela's technique of like having the band vamp forever before he would come in and sing, and kind of, you know, the polyrhythmic thing, like the guitar player is playing a thing, the bass player is playing a thing, or however many parts there are, everyone's just holding their thing and not changing. And that's like, you know, 4 minutes in, you're like, what's gonna, okay, and then at some point you're like, you completely accept what's happening, and then it kind of changes the way it really changes you, because you totally let go, and you start hearing the different parts. They come in and out of focus in a much more clearer way. I mean, Fela used that. That was a really great point he had in the podcast. Fela used that to like kind of like get you totally in his zone, so that when he finally drops his message, it's like shocking that he's all of a sudden singing words about a topic that's relevant. But I think it's really similar. I mean, I remember, you know, it takes that the time it takes to develop that feeling is deep. Like some of the first kind of like things that I did were playing actually Haitian ceremonies in Brooklyn, and it started off just playing the bell. And I remember that sensation, kind of the first times that I would do it were like, you know, after however many hours, I'd hear the ding, 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 hear the bell going, and like, who's playing bell? You know, like, where's that coming from? And then like, oh, that's me. And like looking at my hand, like, that's weird. You know, it's just going. And then once that happened, my ears were really able to open and start hearing all the parts of the different drums and how they're interacting with each other. And it starts to make sense. So it takes time. And I think there is something in these cultures of like understanding the time it takes, and like, and we have that in this band too. We don't rehearse Saha Gnawa. We just kind of we follow the Maâlem, and sometimes we'll start a song and it's like you have to have that sense, that patience to be like, we're starting. You know, it doesn't necessarily start like fire, like it's on fire. It just starts, and you need to have that kind of patience to sit and just like, yeah, let's groove, let's just be together, because like it works. You know, once everything is said, and it's just like, all of a sudden it starts feeling really, really good, and it takes off, you know? So I think that there's a similarity between many of these traditions of like, the thing is set to work, like it's designed to work, to groove and to make you feel good and to be transformative. And you just have to like trust it and do it right.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that the time thing that you're talking about, and kind of like, it's very artificial to break things into Western, Eastern, or Western African or whatever. But
Sure.
there's one side of, you know, the music that developed, you know, and with Bach or whatever, and the music's got to keep moving. It's got to keep going somewhere, right? But then there's this other thing where, like what you're saying with Fela, no, you like hold a groove, and then everything opens up from just holding a thing. And, you know, and I guess also, as you know, as a musician, that's probably it's a lot harder than it sounds to hold to just hold a part.
Yeah, take discipline and concentration and certain kind of relaxation too, and letting go, right? Like, just like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm playing this part, and then that's what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
then I'm gonna listen to everybody around me and just really be in the moment with everybody. And it's great. It's a great meditation. I mean, I think that's why I always loved the Ganawa music, because it was just I got that feeling from it right away of like, and talking about, you know, you do the ceremonies of Lila to heal people. I mean, Amino always says to me, like, if we haven't seen each other in a while, we play, you know, we start playing, and then Maâlem, you know, plays a few notes on the guembri and says something, and Amino and I look at each other like, oh, it's like, man, that's what I needed, man. Like, yeah. So I mean, it's healing us too. It's like, that's why we go, why we play, and why we continue going, and why we'll play a little gig or play it in the house or go play a big gig. It's not it's the music itself is like the thing. It's so, and there's people who are masters, and they're called masters for a reason. You know, you can't like the word Maâlem it means teacher, but you can't call yourself a Maâlem. It's like, it's kind of bestowed upon you by the community, and Maâlem he's the real deal. So he knows all the secrets, I would say, you know. So, you know, it's like it's a magic thing, you know. He starts playing the instrument, and then, well, he sings something, and then you're like, oof, you know, your shoulders relax. Oh man, that's so,
Yeah. And, you know,
great. I mean, and it's also like, why do we love music? You know, I mean, there's many reasons to, you know, love different kinds of things, but this is, yeah, I love that aspect of the power of music to do that, to make you feel that way.
yeah, I had another theory that, you know, the the secret thing behind like the power of like rock and roll as it kind of burst onto the scene and like opened up, you know, the id of all the screaming girls at Elvis and all this stuff, you know, that behind that, it was really this like African ceremonial music was like the real, like, you know, sacred fire in the background, and people, they take a little touch of it and they add it to, you know, some existing forms, and people go crazy. But like, this is the thing, right? Like, this is the actual form, you know, of the music that like that people are referencing when they're like, oh yeah, this cool like trance electronic track, you know, that might have some of these tones or references to this stuff that take you somewhere. But this is like this is the actual source, this kind of stuff, and the bata drumming and stuff like that.
I agree with you about that. Yeah. And also, I think also it's why like this in this band, like musicians who are really open to that sensibility and understand that intuitively are able to like we're able to come together and play, you know. So in this band, it's been a lot of like, it's really specific about who plays. I mean, it's definitely all about Maâlem and the tradition, the folklore, and following him. And then the other side of it is like who I have brought to play with us. And I don't tell them anybody what to do. That's not like that. I'm not like, you know, sometimes maybe a little conducting or like some ideas, or, you know, but Jason Lindner on keys, who is just a wizard of finding the spaces in music to like kind of expand the music, but not dominate it, and like lead things in different directions with his either the color of his tones or like the notes he's playing. He's so in the moment. He's unbelievable. He kind of never plays the same thing, you know, in a way, but he's really breathing with, and that's how this band is. Maâlem is like it's always new. We might play some of the same songs, but they're never the same, the form. And so Jason's really able to like blend with that, and Guilherme Monteiro on guitar is great Brazilian guitar player, and he understands there's so many similarities between just Brazilian grooves and Gnawa music. So it's like, and he has a heavy blues thing, which is also related to like Forró music, which has a really strong blues feeling somehow, you know? So there's all these kind of like overlaps. And then Gilad Hekselman's on the record. He's an incredible guitar player and plays with us, and he's able to find his space in that music as well. We have Donnie McCaslin on tenor. We played a record release show just about a week ago, and Donnie came to sit in again. He's on the record, but he came and played, and it's like he immediately knows where it's going, you know. So, but there are Gnawa projects that have like you said, have used jazz musicians or musicians who improvise, and I've always loved the Maâlem Guinea with Pharoah Sanders record. It's like really hard to find. I don't know if it's streaming on any platform, but that's a great record.
Colors or something like that.
And Seven Colors. That's amazing. I mean, because that's just Pharoah being Pharoah on top of this incredible music, and like he's floating in this incredible spiritual way with it. So I think I was more drawn to like that kind of approach when presenting a project like this, you know, instead of like, here's the arrangement. Okay, we have intro, you know. It's like, because you do hear that kind of version of this, or maybe a more, I don't know if I want to call it more fusiony, but like a little more, you know, that kind of thing. And like we don't do that. We wind up finding some places where, oh, that works, we'll do that, you know, but it's certainly not like, let's take it from measure 33, you know.
Yeah, I mean, each one of those people is like bears conversation about what they're adding, and it's, I mean, like Jason, particularly Jason Lindner, it's unbelievable because it's like he finds all these kind of atmospheric things and also rhythmic things and tones that work absolutely perfectly, don't break, you know, the spirit never gets broken, it never starts sounding like something else. But yeah, it's like it adds this like incredible freshness, and and none of these guys, they never step on the toes of anything, and it's always just you know, it's remarkable because there's so many challenges. You know, like I used to sometimes sit in with the Saha Gnawa, and like, you know, Maâlem's guitar, I mean, his guembri, the pitch is changing. So
that's a tough one. Yeah.
you know, I remember I just went, and I remember once I was just playing with like, it's tone change. So I was just playing, like wah with the just going like wachika wachika, and he was saying something to me, and I'm like, what is he saying? He's like leaning, he's looking at me, he's going what? And like I get closer and closer, and he's just saying wachika wachika wachika.
His mom's really funny. Yeah, that's funny. That's hilarious. That's really funny.
But yeah, I mean, so it's really that's
well, he's very open. You know, he's very open, and Maâlem, you know, he's a Maâlem, of course, but he's also like he's been in New York for a long time, and so he has a certain openness that's like that also, you know, that this wouldn't happen without that, you know, person like that who's like accepting. I mean, there have been moments where we played with other people or certain situations where it didn't work for him, and he maybe was bothered by something that was kind of interfering with how the thing should be going, you know. Yeah. And or I'm playing drums, and you know, if I miss I don't follow sometimes either. Hey, you know.
Yeah.
But that's good. I love that, you know. Tough love, but yeah, these musicians are, you know, they're phenomenal, and also it's like these guys could all burn and solo forever, and just, but it's like no one's doing that really.
Yeah,
I guess on the record, there's a few spots where I was like, "Go for it, like go, like again, like now, like go," you know.
Yeah, that last tune, Donnie McCaslin, like kind of goes to the stratosphere. Yeah,
that was really special. I mean, it was just he came by and we did one take, and that was it. And we're done.
Yeah,
we never talked about it, you know.
So one of the challenges when it's, you know, as I'm saying, it's like this much of a real thing. It's this improvised. It's, you know, the feeling has to be right. So to take something like that and then, you know, you're moving it into a festival context where they're like, okay, you've got like 70 minutes or something like that. So, you know, in a certain way, and we've got a Maâlem who he's got to be feeling it, or you know, if it's not perfect, then something else has to happen musically, right? Like,
it's a challenge, and we've been learning about, you know, exactly what you said, how to do that. It's like, it's not like you know, a lila or an organic situation where you play, and at some point it's like, that was cool, like, you know, time for a tea, you know, whatever, like organically. It's like, no, contract says 75 minutes, you know. So like yeah, so that's like, you know, it's kind of on me in a way to figure out ways to like keep the thing moving, and then maybe, you know, and it's great actually, because sometimes with like Maâlem would take a little pause even, and we have these incredible musicians on stage, so Jason can just, you know, play for a minute, and it takes your ear somewhere else, and it's actually really refreshing, you know, that there's another sound, or, you know, maybe something out of time will happen, or sometimes we'll, you know, Maâlem will take the tabal, the big drum, and we'll go into another direction, a little farther away from the not quite the Gnawa thing, like there's other traditions, you know, so there's just different things that can happen during the set, and it's nice to it's nice actually to have that challenge of like, okay, how do we, you know, how do we peak when we want to peak in a set, but also like have some space and play that full length. And it actually has made for some really cool musical moments that we probably wouldn't have gotten to otherwise.
So I was checking out some of your earlier albums too, and they kind of alluded to other musical traditions and probably travel. So you spent some time in Mali as well, or?
Yeah, I went to Mali in the 90s. A friend was living there, and he wrote me a letter, you know, remember those things?
Yeah.
A letter in the mail.
Wow. Yep.
You know, and so yeah, I went to Mali, and that was like the first trip that really blew my mind, to the point where I came back and all my friends were like, will you please shut up about Mali? Like, I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, but it really, it would shock me, and it was amazing. I mean, my friend was living in this neighborhood in Bamako, and it was like, you know, just djembe every day with different people, and going to hear balafon players in other neighborhoods. And then we took a wild trip. To say wild because it was such a mess, and so many things went wrong and were great too. But we took a trip way to the way north of Mali, past Timbuktu to Gao.
Oh wow!
And to hear takamba, like this music of like little guitar, you know. And then we got stuck there, and it was like we had an amazing time though. And yeah, so that was one of my first trips. And then I went to Cuba a few times. That, you know, so was really into that, and still am. But I never went back to Mali. Unfortunately, I really wish I had gone back earlier. I would still go. I know it's a lot. It's changed a lot. It's difficult, and you know, a lot of really hard stories. You know,
Yeah,
especially from places that I went to with my friend. But I went to Senegal a bunch. That was great. Unbelievable. I mean, you could spend your whole life learning just a fraction of these traditions. Like, but there were also other musicians in the city who were like into all these things, and drummers who were like Jeff Ballard is a hero of mine, he's a drummer and friend, and he was always hipping me to records like way back, you know, Taba Wolof, this like Senegalese thing, and Dudu and Rose and all these things. Jeff is just like a collector of information and grooves. So he hit me a bunch of that stuff. So yeah, it kind of it's all in there, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to West Africa in the late 90s too. I was in Ghana. Similar thing where it just absolutely split my mind open with like just even seeing, you know, like whatever. I went to school there and then I was traveling, but yeah, you just see like for whatever reason, just a bunch of people just playing drums on the court, and it's the most killing thing you've ever seen in the dancing.
Totally.
And yeah, it just never. Yeah,
I think it changed. I think it gave me a sense of like just like you're saying, like people on the playing on the corner, like the why of music, or like it's just music is a part of life, and it's like it's, you know, it's the reason to learn things and to participate in it is like it's part of life, like, which I feel, to be honest, is like it's harder and harder in our commodified world of music to like remember that, like the why of it. I mean, I remember explaining to some younger musicians I was on tour with a few years ago, yeah, I went to Mali and I did this and that. It was another friend of mine, a great drummer, Tim Kuiper, who went to Mali a lot, and we were talking about Mali to somebody, and the younger musician, he's like, well, I don't get it, like, why would you go there, you know? And it was like, wow, man, really? Because you just to go, like, that's why you went to go, like, to do it, you know? It's not it's like not because of the end, you know, what you're going to get out of it. I mean, you're going to get so much out of it, but it's not why you do it. But I remember having that sense of it, like, oh wow. And then I came back and like I said, I wouldn't shut up about it. You gotta go to Africa. Everyone is like, okay, man.
Yeah. No, did you have reverse culture shock? Because I had serious reverse culture shock.
Serious. Yeah. No, really, yeah, a lot. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I also been in Egypt a bunch, and I would spend like chunks of time there, and I would have that kind of culture shock. Yeah, and then my friends would be like, "You're wearing like, what are these sandals you're wearing?" And like what are you wearing, man?
Yeah, I remember coming back. It was the similar thing. It was like I was traveling, and I met some random like Rasta dude who offered to, you know, be my like quote unquote tour guide. Basically, I would bankroll our travels, and we went. We like somehow smuggled our way into Togo or whatever, and we were sleeping on rooftops. It was just absolutely bonkers. And there's some funeral going on, so it was just like music everywhere. And I think I had malaria, so I was super skinny, and he made clothes or whatever that means. I guess he painted these like purple jeans that he had cut. You know, he cut into shorts, so they had like the strings hanging out, and with African hand painted symbols that I was wearing. And then I had like a kind of matching batik purple Bob Marley shirt. And I remember coming back from this trip, you know, skinny and threadbare, and in this all purple outfit. My friend was like, "What are you, the Incredible Hulk?" But yeah, that reverse culture shock, because you're somewhere where, like in Ghana, there was just at that time, 99, there was just 5 radio stations. Actually, I hosted a show on one of them, and like, so it was like millions of people are listening. People had nothing, would have a little battery powered thing. I'm sure you saw similar things in Mali, stand on the corner and they get their little battery powered radio. So like millions of people are having these, like, even just through the radio alone, these like shared kind of musical experiences, or in the local buses. Yeah. And then you come back and you're in this like kind of antiseptic corporate, world. And it's, it's so much less vibrant. The colors are less vibrant. The people's way of comporting themselves is less vibrant, and
we have a lot to learn still. I mean, I definitely remember coming back and always feeling like, because in Mali, so many times we go visit somebody and they really have nothing, and then they're like, come on in, and like they offer you whatever they have. The sense of hospitality is incredible. And and then you're like, you hear and it's like, wait, what? Like, you go to someone's house and they're like, going to offer you a coffee or whatever. There was that kind of thing of like, uh-oh. But having that kind of culture shock, or realizing maybe that kind of inadequacy that we have in those ways, that's a good thing, to kind of an eye-opening thing. But I mean, the roughing it over there is different. Like, cause I guess we were probably in our 20s or doing that. So like one of these last trips I had to Senegal, that was my plan, to kind of go like I used to go, and then I was like, no, I think I'm gonna get a hotel. Right. I'm gonna get a hotel, and then I'll go check out the music later, and then I'll go. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, it's not as charming to other people either, to be our age and like, being a vagabond or whatever. Us. So was it Tim? Was he the one that got you involved with David Byrne, or was it the other way around? Or
Mara Fosco brought me in to David. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Mara's been his percussionist for many years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw some clips of that. I hadn't seen the American Utopia show or the movie, but I just watched clips, and it's pretty awesome with the way they broke up the drum set into different parts. And
that was a really special experience. Yeah, really beautiful. Yeah.
How's David Byrne as like how does he go about like translating his vision to the ensemble?
I think David's really good at delegating responsibility and like letting people kind of share their ideas, and then finding a way forward with those things. So with that project, I think he had kind of come to Mara with this idea of like, I want everyone to be mobile and like be able to, so how would we make the, a traditional drum set? If someone's got a bass drum, okay, we'll give someone a snare drum and a hi-hat, and then so it's like, he has those amazing ideas, and then kind of also really, really great at having people, that he trusts figure out cool things, and then he's got great taste. So he'll be like, oh, that works. I like that, so you're like, oh, let's try that. Let's expand on that idea. So there's definitely, it's collaborative. He leaves room for collaboration and experimenting. And then he's got great taste. So he's like, this feels good. This feels good. Like, let's use that, So that's a really nice way of, definitely learned a lot from that, watching him do that. Not only with the drummers, but with all kinds of things, with the lighting design or with choreography, so many things. He I think he has a real there's a lot of experience, but he's really really smart about like like just problem solving, because every project has problems or things you want to get done. You're not exactly sure what to do, and then you're like, you have to kind of go through a few different ideas and then choose something and then develop that. Super fascinating to work with him and see him do that.
Yeah, it's probably not your typical Broadway process, you know.
Well, it wasn't Broadway wasn't involved, so it was a tour, and we toured for a year. There was no talk. We didn't know anything about Broadway, and then it wound up going to Broadway, but it had been a world tour.
Oh, okay.
It was planned for, like that. So I mean, it was modified a bit for Broadway, but not so much.
So I guess from him, you could kind of glean some things about creating creative space and open collaborative atmosphere and problem solving, as you said. I'm curious if there are other musicians along your path that you felt like you picked up on particular, useful lessons.
I mean, yeah, I had to stop for a minute and kind of think about it to really say. But I will say that, I mean, just Jason, who was in the band. I mean, I've definitely learned a lot from him growing up with him, and he's always been really kind of adventurous, but also just has a really, really interesting way of creating it with other people. I mean, it's been really inspiring, and I think it's a lot of people, when you ask that question, they always will say some older people are heroes, but we can also be influenced by our peers.
Yeah.
Avishai Cohen, the trumpet player, we played together a lot and had a band together, but definitely the way he did some stuff, because I remember, I think I was the one who gave him some originally Umu Sangare records and things from Mali that he wasn't aware of. That kind of blew his mind. He started writing music in that used those elements, and then we did a bunch of stuff with Lionel Lueke, the guitar player. It was so incredible. Avishai and knew Lionel, so I don't know, the way that those guys were working on things. That's definitely an influence, and there's other things too. I love, for some reason, just comes to mind, Grupo Folklorico, the band that Andy Gonzalez and Jerry Gonzalez had. There's those records that are like folkloric, but then they adding all these other things, but it still keeps it folkloric. I love those records, and they're like, the sound of those records too. They're like crunchy and like raw, and I mean, back then, I mean, they're going to tape and it's almost distorting. It's so hot. It's like, but the energy is captured in those recordings, and that's an influence for sure. And this recording, the engineer with Phil Weinrobe was really, I think, a big part of this process, because he kind of, I talked to him about it originally when we came to set up in the studio. He was like, you know what? No headphones. No, we're setting up in a circle, and if you want to hear the Maâlem, you want to hear him sing, we're gonna put his voice through the amp, and we're gonna. He set up a PA. He basically set us up like a live gig in the studio, so we were really tight together, and he's incredible at his miking technique is amazing. So he got so much isolation to give us, mixing options, but. That reminds me in some ways of those records that I love, the Grupo Folklorico, or like, it's because it's like to try to get away from it being like as antiseptic as possible, like to keep that feeling in there when you go in the studio. That's kind of a challenge. So I think that we were successful, and there was almost no other way to do it. It's like, it's got to be, if everyone's with different mixes in their headphones and different levels, the drum sound might be cleaner, but like, at what cost, And anyway, it's not about that,
Yeah, I think that might have like kind of solved something for me, because indeed, yes, the way that album is recorded is amazing, and it's not easy, especially like a guembri or whatever. It takes up so much sonic range, it could be so boomy or whatever, but so mix wise, somehow everything kind of.
Yeah, Eli Cruz mixed it. He's an amazing engineer. He's behind a lot of all the tune yard stuff, and he's mixed a lot of pop music, but has a really amazing sensibility of like, man, he's a crazy crazy good engineer and mixing, and he was able to carve out all these spaces for all this stuff. There's the bass and the qraqeb and the drum set, and then all these synth pads and 2 guitars. Like, where's all this stuff gonna go? It could be like just a big muddy soup, but it takes a lot of skill. Eli really helped. I mean, he really knows.
But also, you guys are all you're making a record. In terms of the experience of recording it, it could have been 1958 or something like that, because you're all like actually playing. You're all hearing the same thing. You're all not distracted by the technology. And like when KCR asked me to come up with like my top 10 of the year, I was almost embarrassed to be like, yo, I don't even know, because I don't feel any allegiance to the present. Like, I'm just always listening to everything. So,
right.
And probably, I mean, maybe you feel the same way. Like, there's certain time periods where generally things have like a spark of energy,
Totally.
and like, so, yeah, so whatever, it's very hard to make a jazz record like it's 1958 now, or 61 or whatever,
Totally agree.
But maybe the fact that you guys made that choice to like just, the F it, we're going live kind of approach.
Yeah, and then to mix that with other things. So we're going live. I have a studio at home. So like once everything was captured, then David Lizmi, who was in the band, he's also is a great bass player too and producer. But we sat with everything and we're like, okay, we have like an hour and a half or an hour and 40 of recorded music. Like, which things work? And then we chopped. We were merciless. Like, we're chopping. Maybe we chop too much sometimes. I'm like, now I'm listening to things, I'm like, I wish that went on a little longer. But we kind of formed it, and then we added and worked on it. So the basic thing is the same, is the thing, but like, we added extra vocals to beef it up. We, some guitar. Jason loves to go in after the fact and like, oh, I hear that now. And then he's like, ooh, and, I mean, and every take he does is incredible. So you got to be like, no more. It's like, like, I have too many good choices, and then, then the record needed something a little more mellow. So I went and recorded Jason and Maâlem just playing duo. They made a beautiful thing, Hamdushia, like a prayer that's on there.
Yeah, and he puts like harmonies against Maâlem, which I've never heard. I've never heard.
Right? I've never heard anything like any music that sounds like that. I think that's the first time I've ever heard music like that.
And like, usually putting harmony, especially if it's very direct, usually it kind of like breaks the spell.
It's cringe. It's cringy.
Yeah. But this was not that at all, because it was
wild.
surprising harmony, and
and it's also it's harmony, but like, it might be just fifths or it also sounds ancient in another way.
Yeah.
Lucky to be in New York, and so I often feel that way. That session I felt that way. Like, what a city! Like, gonna do a record. Hey, Roman, can you come by? Gustavo Dadaba plays Brazilian percussionist, is on the record too. Like, we were David Byrne's band together. Like, hey, Gustavo, come on by. It's like, oh, Donnie lives around the corner. Come on by. It's like, New York is amazing for this. I mean, where else is this? It's so I feel that.
Yeah,
I can acknowledge that.
Yep, it's still got it. It's
right. It's there.
Thing, but it's still there.
Yeah, you got to be stubborn. I mean, it's just keep going with this thing. But
yeah, man. Well, yeah, I think. And so it's like you've got such an embarrassment of riches in New York, and on the record that we like didn't even mention that Nels Klein came in. And,
Nels, yeah. Because Eli Cruz, who mixed the record, mixes Nels's records, and he played it for Nels, and Nels was like, "Oh, I'd be down to get on this," and that was super fun. Nels came over to my house, and I just was like, "I think this one will be good for you." Like, he's like, set up his shit, and like, go ahead, and he just was amazing, So he just wanted to play. He's like, he loved it. We had the best time. So much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So, and whatever, it's been fun just checking out your record, because now I've like been digging, trying to dig in more into Gilad's music and
Yeah.
he's almost, it's similar. He's kind of like Jason in that they're kind of continuously surprising. They're not falling on like, the idioms, you're not like just like falling back on the Johnny B. Good lick or whatever, that's tempting for guitarists.
No.
Like
Yeah.
they're like super, super creative and yeah, just I don't know, man. You're in a great, really exciting circle of musicians.
Very lucky. Yeah. Super lucky though, because always, if you're like, if you play with musicians who are always better than you, like, you're doing something right. That's feel lucky like that, for sure. And it keeps the band keeps changing and kind of developing and getting to new things. Like we had the record release show a few weeks ago at Public Records, and people were just going crazy dancing, and it was just a party. I mean, so that, not to skip that part of the thing, it's just super fun. And like, the audience might not know all this background of what it is, but they like, whoa, we want this.
Right. We just spent like close to an hour totally nerding out, but like it's your average person. Yeah. It's just like awesome dance music.
Yeah. Dance music. Fun.
You don't need ethnomusicology.
Right. We should go back to the beginning of the interview. Dude, come down and hang,
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm excited for you. I'm very excited for the project. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that we can pull it off for the Ragas Festival.
We will.
Yeah,
we will.
And yeah, pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks so much, David.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah.